Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I know it's been a while since I've done one of these videos, and I really thought today would be a good opportunity for me to do this because I have a little bit of experience with this particular topic that I'm going to talk about, and the topic is my top 5 tips on how to start up your own home photography studio. So I have done this and I will give you guys a short tour just at the end of the video as well of what my room looks like, what my studio looks like. It's nothing amazing and it doesn't need to be, so I'm very content with that. But I'm going to give you guys my top 5 tips just on how to really start off with it, because it is hard when you're wanting to get into studio photography and it's expensive. There are a lot of expensive things and equipment out there. It's quite confusing. Sometimes I think people are very confused on where to start off with purchasing, like I was, and I still get quite confused with a lot of studio, equipment. There's just so much of it out there, and it's hard sometimes to know where to start. So my top 5 tips are, and this is the first tip, I think the best thing you can do when you're just starting off with studio photography and building your own home studio is stick to a really simple light setup. So 1 or 2 lights, that's all you need. It gets really, you can start to get confused if you start thinking of 3, 4, 5 light setups. It's just not, it's not something that you need to start off with, and that will cut costs down when you are looking at equipment. So try and stick to 1 or 2 lights. A lot of the time lights will come in like sets of 2, so if you can get it in a set, then that's great. Personally, I do have Elinchrom Lighting, and I only really have it because I was in the position when I bought it to spend a little bit more on some studio equipment. However, if you're really on a budget, don't feel like you need to go for the really expensive brands. There are plenty of other brands out there that you can choose from. And even just to go on eBay, there's plenty of lighting kits, simple studio lighting kits. And before I had Elinchrom, I would go and borrow my neighbour's kit that she bought off eBay. Because at the time I couldn't even afford the kit off eBay, but I think the kit was only something like maybe, it was only a couple of $100s, I think, which isn't really a huge investment when you're looking at the big scheme of things. So if you can stick to maybe something simple like that and some cheaper studio lighting equipment, just be careful, because I have heard of some dodgy brands being out there, and obviously certain lights that may not come with a fan inbuilt, they have been known to catch fire, so you just have to be very careful sometimes with what lighting you do get. But there's plenty of other reputable brands, like Godox is one that I have heard of, and I did get the opportunity to use some of the Godox equipment at a studio last week in Sydney. So I found that to be really good and perfect for anyone starting out. I think they do have some quite reasonable equipment for studio lighting. So my number 2 tip is to also keep it simple with lighting modifiers. So try and go for something like umbrellas or a rectangular or square softbox, because a lot of the time they will be cheaper to buy. And especially umbrellas, they are very inexpensive a lot of the time. So to start off with something like that is perfect. You don't need to go through all the different lighting modifiers and purchase every single one of them. You're probably not going to need them just yet if you're just starting out with it. So try and stick to something that's going to be inexpensive, like umbrellas for any lighting modifying or anything like that. Okay, my tip number 3 is to use sheets as a backdrop. I know a lot of photographers do this already, and I do it all the time. I literally have a sheet just over here that I'll show you guys in a second that I use. Sheets are great because they come in all different colors, all different sizes, all different patterns. So you can really get some interesting backdrops if you use sheets. The problem with sheets is that they do crease a lot. One solution to that I've found is to just get a spray bottle of water and spray the sheet and just continuously kind of pat it down, and it gets the creases out really well once it's hanging up on the backdrop stand. So I actually got that tip from someone on YouTube ages ago, and thank you to whoever that person was, because it's a great tip and it's helped me out a lot with starting my own home studio. And yeah, so sheets are really cheap too, so you don't need to go and buy backdrops that are worth a few $100s or anything like that if you're just starting your own home studio. Just stick to something simple, and sheets usually work most of the time. And my tip number 4 is sort of more geared towards when you're looking to choose your space and where you should maybe choose. So it's always good to choose somewhere that does have a little bit of natural light as well. So if you've got a room with a window, that's great, because it's going to give you more variety in choosing lighting setups, and being able to use and utilize that natural light is always good as well. You don't always have to use studio lighting. If you want a studio shot, you can get natural lighting as well. A garage is usually pretty good for that. My first home studio was in a garage, and yeah, it worked like for what I needed it for. I had the roller door as well, so I could bring that up if I wanted a bit of like natural light. So yeah, a garage is always a really good start. If you've got a spare room, like just anywhere you can find a little bit of space. You don't generally need a lot of space for a home studio, depending on what you need though, I guess. So that brings me to my tip number 5, which is if you don't have a lot of space, stick to beauty shots and closer shots. So anything that's going to be a little bit more closer up, so maybe like a lower torso up shot, is going to be a little bit more easier for you to take. If you're looking at doing full body shots, you're going to need a little bit more space generally, and also with full body shots you might need a backdrop that will sort of help you be able to keep the white, you know, the whole way around. I'm not really making much sense now, but it's going to be a little bit harder to use sheets and cheaper items like that when you have to do full body shots, because obviously you'll be getting the flooring in the shot, and that may not be what you want, and it's hard to Photoshop out, and yeah, generally that's not always a great option. But yeah, so if you need to do full body shots, try and get somewhere with a little bit more space, and maybe start to invest in something in a backdrop that's going to allow you to do those full body shots quite seamlessly. Alright guys, I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that my tips were helpful, because you know, this is something that I've gone through quite recently within the last few years in building or starting to accumulate things for a home studio. So I'm going to show you guys what I actually use at the moment, and it's not a very interesting setup. It's really, I've got 2 lights, I have a sheet backdrop at the moment, which you'll see, and yeah, I don't have a lot of space in here, so I generally use it for beauty shots and anything that's going to be a little bit closer up. So I'll show you guys now what that looks like. Alright guys, so this is my general setup for my studio at the moment. It's nothing amazing, like I said before, it's really simple. It's a very simple setup. So if you can see now, we have 2 lights. I've got an Octabox just up there as a lighting modifier that came with my kit, and I've got a little square softbox there, and I have another little square softbox as well that came with my kit too. I've got 2 lights, 2 of the Elinchrom lights that I purchased, so as you can see up there, and then at the back there is just a white sheet. So it's really simple. I usually just get a stool for the model, and if there's any other creases in the sheets in particular that I can't get out, usually they're quite easy to fix in Photoshop, so I will do that. I've also just got my computer here, so I can pretty much upload images straight away if I need to. I've also got a window in the room, so it's really good for natural light shots as well. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you can see that you don't need anything amazing to have a good lighting setup. I will show you guys some photos at the end of this video too, just to show you a couple of shots that I've taken in this studio, so you can really get a better feel for what I'm talking about here. And if anyone wants to share their tips on how to keep things under, you know, a certain budget with starting a home studio, please feel free to put anything in the comments section below, because I'm sure people starting out would love to know that as well. So yeah, feel free to share your own opinions as well, and I will see you guys next time. Bye!